it's just a little short-term pain. Oh, buy your daughter less dolls. Oh, it's, it's worth the little pain they're feeling. Oh, it's great that they've got more credit card debt. And then you've got the chief economic advisor to Donald Trump out there with a shit-eating grin, telling us how great it is that American debt is increasing, that the average American's debt is increasing.
Guys, MAGA's biggest idiots, Scott Jennings and Kevin O'Leary, were annihilated last night for saying that the economy is doing great under President Trump. Guys, these MAGA pundits have become so damn shameless that they're now portraying the increased credit card spending like it's a sign of a healthy economy. What these people are not talking about is the fact that the lower middle-class families have no savings left. They're living paycheck to paycheck, and to put food on their table for their children, they're forced to use their credit cards. It's not like they're doing it by choice or anything like that. Guys, the U.S. consumer debt is spiraling up, something that Trump is simply not talking about. Instead, they crow spending is up without saying why it's up and call it a success. Now, I'm going to play some clips from the show. I'll give my opinion as we go.
Tonight, the Trump administration is celebrating a potentially alarming trend, claiming it's a sign of consumer confidence. Trump's top economic advisor says the American consumer is, quote, really firing on all cylinders for this puzzling reason.
I had the head of one of the big 5 banks in my office yesterday going through the credit card data, and just as Secretary Bessent said, credit card spending is through the roof. They're spending more on gasoline, but they're spending more on everything else, too.
Today, Kevin Hassett credited Trump's no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security policies for putting so much more money in Americans' pockets. But notably absent from that list, Trump's tariffs, which are said to have cost the average American family over $1,700. Kevin, the other Kevin, look, I'm sure that there are plenty of economic people who can make a good case for why people spending themselves into debt is a good thing for the economy, sure. But for actual American pocketbooks, when you are spending yourself on credit cards, it's usually a sign that things are not going well with your cash flow.
It's very interesting what's happening, because I was listening to the Disney call, the earnings call, which is such a great index for consumers. Think about families going to theme parks, buying gasoline, buying stuff. So the Disney, this is a new CEO, it's his first call, was asked right out of the gate, because every analyst is trying to figure out where the consumer stands, have you seen a slowdown in park traffic? Remember, parks are more expensive than they've ever been, and the cost of taking your family in the car should be more expensive than ever, because it's gas $4 to $5 now. Zero change in traffic. In fact, it's up. And so what is happening to this economy that people feel confident enough to see forward to the end of whatever this volatility is, particularly on gas prices? The truth is 50% of the S&P 500 companies have absorbed the tariffs themselves by using AI to increase their margins and productivity. So the full weight of tariffs hasn't ever affected the consumer yet because of this incredible productivity enhancement, this serendipitous tool that Trump never saw coming called AI in all 11 sectors. The earnings are stunning in the S&P 500, which is the index of everybody that saves money, that is saving anything in their savings account in America, driven by the power of an economy that seems to be ignoring the conflict in the Middle East. You would think, given all of this volatility, that somehow it would affect something in America.
Well, I mean, Kevin Hassett is telling us it is.
Nothing yet.
But Kevin Hassett is telling us, I mean, just to ask you to respond to what he said. He said Americans are spending more on credit cards, that they are not only paying more, they are paying more for things that they are buying, but they're doing so on credit cards. That's what he's saying. That's the
amount that Americans are carrying on their credit card has increased. It's gone up to almost $7,000 per person. A lot of Americans are making minimum payments. The average interest rate is between 21 and 22% on whatever balance they are carrying. And then you've got the chief economic advisor to Donald Trump out there with a shit-eating grin, telling us how great it is that American debt is increasing, that the average American's debt is increasing. I just think it speaks again to this constant theme I see from this administration, which is tone deafness, right? Oh, it's just a little short-term pain. Oh, buy your daughter less dolls. Oh, it's, it's worth the little pain they're feeling. Oh, it's great that they've got more credit card debt. I mean, I would say that if I'm a person who can't pay my gas, whose dollar is going a lot less far in the grocery store, who is stuck in Fort Lauderdale Airport without being able to get back home because Spirit Airlines no longer exists. I hear this guy, and I'm not happy about it.
I think, and that is kind of the difference. I think that the last Anna and Kevin illustrate the difference in the way that I think many Americans are viewing it. And for a long period of time, Democrats had their head in the sand about things like the economy, inflation, particularly, and crime, right? I mean, we spent before in 2020 to 2024, talking about the messaging that Democrats didn't get right around immigration, crime, and inflation. But Kevin was articulating the fact that a Disney earnings call and people coming to the park could dictate the pulse of what average Americans were feeling. And I would argue that's not quite the case. I think most people are looking at the fact that their electricity bills are rising through the roof. I think that people elected Donald Trump so that their grocery prices would go down, and they have not seen that. I think people are talking about gas and fuel prices. I think most people are not necessarily talking about Disney per se, but instead they're talking about how to make their everyday ends meet. Of course, we are.
Disney, to your point, is a luxury item.
Luxury? I mean, yes. I went on a Disney cruise and realized I had to work more years just to pay for it. So, yes, I understand that.
Abby, I think Kevin said something that I think is a good point, and that has to do with confidence. People have some confidence about what's going on in the future. There were two numbers that came out this week that I think illustrate that. One is the ADP hiring report. They forecast 109,000 jobs added. The other thing was that the U.S. hiring rate jumped to 3.5% in March, which is a 22-month high, and we're still sort of in a, what do they call, low hire, low fire, so sort of a muted turnover in the labor market. So I think there are jobs being added. People aren't worried about necessarily losing their jobs. So I think what Kevin was maybe, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but there is a little bit of confidence among the American workforce about, hey, my job is okay and I feel good about the future.
Can I ask you both just a question?
Guys, Trump and his cronies are super happy that people are maxing out their credit cards on groceries and gas, because at the end of the day, it's the people like Trump and his friends, the billionaire class of this country, who own the majority of these banks. And when credit card debt climbs, these banks make them hundreds of billions of dollars. So, I mean, increased credit card spending is bad news for ordinary Americans, but it's good news for the billionaires of this country. This administration and its puppets know how effing stupid their supporters are. They can feed them any bullshit propaganda, and they'll blindly start supporting it. I mean, it's crazy how evil and vile Republican politicians are to just flat out lie, and how gullible, stupid, uneducated, ignorant, and moronic their supporters are to even believe them. Even an 8-year-old can tell that credit card debt is directly related to a disastrous economy and signs of a full-blown economic recession. It makes me so damn sick how deceptive and deceitful these people are to the uninformed American public. They're making a fool out of everybody at this point.
Just a literal question. I'm kind of taking Abby's role, I guess. But how do you say that we are not necessarily losing jobs and their confidence in the job market, but yet talk about the bolstering of AI? Because a lot of the same people that we're talking about who are in these jobs that pay between minimum wage and maybe, $20 an hour, those are going to be the same jobs in the next 5 to 10 years that are going to be excommunicated because of AI. So what is the balance there, and how we
loss of all jobs, and you're not seeing any new jobs that may be higher paying coming from AI? And I'll give you an example of exactly that. So people that used to look at the tops of Target stores and Walmart stores to look for every year cracks that they have to cover for insurance, that no longer is done by people going up ladders anymore. It's done by drones. And the people that fly the drones make 10 times more than the guys that went up the ladders.
So what happens to the people who went up the ladders?
Listen, the point is they...
No. I'd like a very specific question. So what happened? So that's my point. What happens to the people who went up the ladders?
They learned how to fly drones. That's what happened to them.
But
they
we're
know
not
the
investing
route.
in that.
They start making a lot more money. I mean, the point is, you make the assumption there's no mobility, that people are stuck in something they're doing when they're 28 or 38 years old. They're not stupid. They learn how to do new things. They're accommodating them.
I'll tell you one other thing. I interviewed a CEO actually on my radio show today who is head of this company. They make semiconductors, and because of the AI, you asked about AI, because of the boom, They're now currently building an advanced manufacturing plant in Greenville, North Carolina that will add between 400 and 600 jobs in an advanced manufacturing setting. These people make a ton of money. The only reason they're building it is because they are the backbone that goes into NVIDIA. And so when you look at the interplay across AI, you can see there is manufacturing being added in a place like North Carolina. People are going to make a ton of money. It's only because of the AI.
So I think all of that is relevant. But I also think just getting back to where Americans believe the economy is, by every indication, they are pessimistic about where things are. Consumer confidence is at, all-time lows. Their confidence in President Trump's handling of the economy is pretty low. And prior to now, I mean, if you look at Trump's first year in office, I keep repeating this because I think it's important to note when we talk about tariffs, it's not just who's paying them, it's also what is the overall effect on the economy. And there were effectively net zero jobs created in his first year in office. So Trump stagnated the economy for a year. Maybe we're coming out of that now. But you can see why Americans are not so sure where this thing is headed. And then they look at gas prices, they look at a war that maybe isn't ending, and they're asking, are you focused on what you said you were going to be focused on, which is raising our incomes, lowering our prices, all of that?
Well, look, one, I think the president probably recognizes that, which is why he's trying to bring some type of resolution to the conflict with Iran. I think looking at Disney's, their earnings call, that's one key indicator one could look at a segment of the population to give us a tall tale in terms of how they're performing, behaving in terms of spending, et cetera. But when you look at how much does the average American have saved for an emergency, $500, $1,000, most frankly don't. And that sort of worries me. So people can iterate a little bit. They can adjust themselves to AI, et cetera. But that takes time. That doesn't happen overnight. And so for me as a conservative, I certainly want to see us focus a little bit more on making sure the American people have the skills for the jobs that you're talking about, because it will have a significant impact in the next 5 to 10 years. I don't know if Congress as a whole is focused there collectively. I want to see a little bit more of that. But in the immediate, I do think maybe we can try to attempt to pass some legislation, Abby, to provide some relief to people who are struggling, families. Congress can do that. We have a Republican majority. That would certainly benefit us going into the midterms this November. So that's sort of how I'm looking at this.
I mean, what they're doing, though, is allocating $1 billion for a ballroom.
Well, for the bunker,
they're doing a lot of other things that involve spending
Imagine
money.
the Barack Obama ballroom that cost $1 billion.
Well, the $1 billion is separate from the building.
Spending money on
fit.
many things
Try to
that don't
deport
have
him
to
to
do
Kenya.
with affordability over in Washington.
Guys, Trump has single-handedly destroyed the economy of this country, and now he's diverting your attention from the economy through the Iran war. Guys, Trump's tariffs and Trump's war with Iran have both done severe damage to our economy. God knows how many years the Iran war would prolong. Even if it ends today by some miracle, the gas prices would still take several years to come back to pre-war levels. Trump's dumb decisions won't just hurt people of this generation. His decisions are going to haunt future generations of this country as well. I'm seeing lots of Republican voters on social media going like, "Oh, I love my president, but I'm really upset about gas prices. Our family can't afford this." So they're happy that he's hurting other people, but they feel a little bit upset that they're a part of a collateral damage effect. Frankly, guys, from what I've seen from the MAGA Republicans, they would be happy to watch the entire country burn to the ground as long as the action upsets someone smarter than themselves. Their entire cult is based on them being tired of having people smarter than them point out their stupidity to them. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. I'll see you again tomorrow with another one.